Well, good afternoon. I'm Chris Pinella. I'm a lead for the Open Innovation Labs based down in Boston. And on behalf of myself and the Red Hat and City of Ottawa team, welcome to our final demo for the lab's residency. So our agenda for today, topics that we're going to go through, include what the engagement was about, the goals that these folks have been working on for the past 4 weeks, an overview of our week 1 activities and how we got to building what we're going to show you this afternoon. A little bit of discussion about empathy mapping, which is user testing and how that affects and impacts application design and flow. An overview about what a week in the life of a residency is about. The demo of the application these folks have been building, as well as next steps now that our residency is wrapped. So a little bit about our engagement. We came together a few months ago to discuss the project and came up with this engagement goal in order to work against. Improve the process of application deployment, code quality, scalability, and uptime while reducing operational costs in order to be more nimble, client-centric, and value-driven. So what does this really mean? The team wanted to experience modern application design and development. They wanted to understand how agile concepts like collaboration and co-working together could improve their velocity and change them as a team. So how do we do this? Well, we began by working together. So over the course of 4 weeks, the Red Hat team and the City of Ottawa team came together in this fantastic space here at the Bayview Yards in order to work on these objectives. So as this is a condensed demo, and not everyone is going to have time to speak today, we wanted to take a moment to introduce all of the members of the team who helped contribute and drive us towards success. We have Tim, our project manager and tech lead. We have Roseanne, who is our product owner. Riley, who is on the phone, who drove a lot of our UX design. Nick, who offered GIS support. Jamie, one of our developers. Simone, who is our Scrum Master. Ryan, another one of our full stack developers. Olga, who helped with the map system. Teresa, who coordinated this fantastic space for us and offered us lots of support around the logistics. Nikhil, another of our full stack developers who's driving our demo today. Marietta, who worked on some of the web service development with our team. Patrick, our architect, and myself as lead. So to speak more about the residency and really what we were focusing on, I'd like to introduce Tim today.
Thanks, Chris. So before we started going on all the development for the residency, what we did in week 1 was actually set our priority. Like, what did we want to achieve out of the 4 weeks? So we went through an activity where we put all of the priorities that we thought were relevant up on a board, and we went through a democratic process where we voted the entire team onto what we wanted to achieve out of this. The top 3 priorities that we came up with were learning more about agile development, learning more about automated testing, and making sure that we built in multilingual and AODA right from the get-go on the application. So those were the big 3 things that we wanted to achieve. So as we go through this, you'll see kind of how we tailored it. So week 1, we did no coding in week 1. What we did was we went through a different set of processes and activities in order to help us drive the design. We went through empathy mapping, which we'll get to, ScreenFlow workshop, also we'll show that, event storming, and then finally in week 1, we kind of set up the technical environment that we were going to be working with for the remainder of the 3 weeks. And this entire time we worked on forming that team so that we were very comfortable with each other. We knew what each other's skill set was, and then we productive right at the get-go. So week 1, again, this was all planning. Way too many stickies are up on the wall, but I'll kind of go through it. So in the top left, we did a team forming exercise. We all went through and discussed our personas as if we were animals, and this is how we were to describe how we were to work during that week. Top middle, this is called a team social contract. So we all put on the boards how we wanted to work and how we wanted to respect each other's working space, since we were all co-located in one area. If you're on a phone call, you have to go outside, that type of thing. We all signed off on it. It's a contract. It's up on the wall. Can't break the contract. On the right-hand side, I spoke to this earlier. Those are all the priorities that we wanted to set, and we voted on them. So you can kind of see, it's called a slider. So the top three are the three that I discussed before. Bottom left, that's kind of the flow through the application. So once we went through a couple of design iterations, we started putting stickies, and then that string denotes how the flow goes through the application. And then in that bottom middle, correct me if I'm wrong, that is our value slice. Nice. All right. So the value slicing was how we set out what user stories we were going to accomplish. Above that top string line, Roseanne helped us set our priorities as the product owner. That is what we wanted to accomplish throughout the residency. Everything below is what we'll follow up afterwards. So empathy mapping and user testing. This was a huge part of what we did here. We had 7 users come in all from the city of Ottawa. They were either QA, clients, developers, other managers, just people with a bit different scope on how they would use the application. Development was done only over 2 sprints, so a total of 2 weeks. What we did was, for each of those users that came in, we would sit down with them and take them through kind of a scripted pilot of what we thought the application would be, 10 to 15 minutes. So Riley sat with them, asking them leading questions. What do you see now? What do you think? What do you feel? Where do you expect that feature to be? And all of those questions helped us, back in the room, write down what we were hearing and slap them up on the board. So if you can see a picture there, there's actually 2 separate white stickies. That's how much feedback we get from one person. So it's not just 1 or 2 points. We're literally writing down nonstop and slapping them up on the board. That helps us drive our design for our application. This was a huge thing that we don't do back in the city that I think we need to bring back. Again, every single time we met with people, it would help us drive the design. We keep going through those iterations, every single piece of feedback we'd address. Screenflow workshop. So once we went through a couple of these designs, what we did was, as a team, we each took a piece of the application, we took some Post-its, and we started sketching out what we think it's going to look like. We put them on a long piece of brown paper, and that represented each of the different features. And what we did was we all cycled through and just put comments, things we liked about the previous person, things we need to improve on, that type of thing. So again, very iterative, very agile, and this kind of helped us set the initial design. And that's it for me for now. So I'll give it over to Jamie to talk about Week in the Life of a Developer.
Thanks, Tim. So these are things that we discovered reading the development that I made myself throughout the course of this engagement. So first of all, we had stand-ups daily, so short meetings every day where we discuss our progress for the previous day, what we plan to work on the current day, and whether we had any blockers. So if there was something that would prevent us from our work, we could collectively kind of move it aside. So that was great. We were co-located, which was good for 2 reasons. First of all, we didn't really know each other, obviously, Red Hat folks, but also on the team, like I didn't know Marietta not so well, but throughout the course of this engagement and being in a very close space, it was really, really great just to get to know people. So, we're working quickly together. It's very helpful. The other thing with that was oh, right. So, it was nice being away from our regular work environment because, if you're trying to work on something, you're distracted by stuff. So it was nice to be in a dedicated space. We had a couple of collaboration tools that we used, primarily to track our task list and see where we were at. It was nice to get like an overhead view of what's coming up next, how things piece together between people on the team. That was very helpful. We didn't end up doing a lot of email because of that. So everything, all the information, all the knowledge, all for moving forward was kind of in that space. We also didn't have a lot of formal meetings. So the ones we did have were like sprint ceremonies. So these are by nature very short, so and focused. So the nice thing about this was we were able just to get together and work, focus on the task, get right down to it. Finally, every week we had a retrospective which was helpful. So everybody would share what worked well for them during that sprint and what did not work well. And the nice thing about this was in a very short period of time, we're able to surface those issues or things that were working well and then kind of move more in that direction to stay productive. We thought that was pretty helpful. So all in all these things contributing together, I guess our overall impression was a very positive one. We were able to get a lot done in a short period of time. That's it for me. I'm going to hand it off to Ryan, and he's going to talk about the technical.
Thanks. So let's talk for a minute about how we built this application. So the application is running on the OpenShift container platform, which is open source. In our case, we're running it on AWS Canada, but it could just as easily be running on another cloud provider or virtual machines or bare metal, anywhere that OpenShift runs. The application database is stored in MongoDB, which we're using as essentially a cache between our application and map, the system of record. We built RESTful APIs using Spring Boot in Java to actually serve the information. And to render the map, we use Mapbox.gl. On top of the map, there is a user interface built with Vue.js, a JavaScript framework. And that entire stack is replicated in both dev and test environments. And if we were shipping this application to prod, we'd have a third production environment. There's also a continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline that's kicked off by Jenkins that takes code stored in GitHub and runs jest tests for the client-side application and JUnit tests for the server application. All of this is deployed with Ansible, so we can use an Ansible command to automatically deploy an OpenShift cluster, as well as the CI/CD pipeline, as well as the application that's deployed by the CI/CD pipeline. So all that can be automatically deployed with Ansible. Let's talk a little bit more about that pipeline. So it starts off when somebody, in our case in GitHub, merges source code to master. At that point, a webhook runs, and Jenkins takes that code and builds it. So for the Java application, that would be Maven. For the JavaScript application, that would be NPM and Webpack. Once the build completes, we run some automated tests. In our case, these are unit tests to make sure that each piece of the application works as we intended. In the future, you could add end-to-end tests, integration tests. You could even do automated accessibility tests within Jenkins. If a test pass, we then bake a container. We take the output of the build process and turn it into a Docker container that is stateless and can run in a reliable way in any environment. We automatically deploy to our test environment, to our dev environment, and manually deploy it to test. And if we had a production environment, that could be another manual step. So everything through deploying to test is kicked off automatically once you merge code up to master. With that, I'll turn it over to Roseanne for the demo.
Okay. We are now going to take a look at the application that our team has been very focused on for the last couple of weeks, the Development Application Search Tool. The Development Application Search Tool site is typically discovered one of two ways. A resident may receive a notification letter advising of proposed development within their neighborhood, or potentially they're driving down the road and they see an on-site sign posted. In this case, for 21 Withrow, we see that there are two applications. There's a zoning bylaw amendment, as well as a subdivision application in progress. Both methods of communication, the notification letter, as well as this on-site sign, both reference our Development Application Search Tool. If you look to the bottom of the sign, you'll see ottawa.ca/devapps. That information is also included in the notification letter. We're now going to take a look at the existing application. So what we're looking at right now is the Development Application Search landing page. As we scroll down the page, we're able to see the intent of this site, which is to share information related to development activity within the City of Ottawa. The types of applications that are exposed through this tool include zoning applications, plans of subdivisions, plans of condominiums, site plan, official plan amendments, as well as demolition. This site was initially implemented in 2008, and there have been some minor enhancements to the site over the years, but The site currently does not meet the current Ottawa.ca standards. Usability issues have been noted with the site. It's not mobile friendly, and it's not AODA compliant. So if we look at the site itself, we see that on the left side of the screen, we offer a menu that has a link to the Dev App Search landing page, which we're now looking at. We also offer an advanced search function. We include a link to our Find a Word tool. And we've also provided some answers to some frequently asked questions, or FAQs. As we look more towards the center of the screen, we see that we can do a text-based search, and we see that search tips are displayed beneath the field. We also see that we have a map displayed. The map itself is currently displaying an individual point for each development application that is available through the site. Some of the feedback that we received through the initial testing related to this map was the map itself was too small, it was too busy, there were too many points on it, and some of our users didn't realize that we could actually use the map to search for individual applications. We'll now just start to zoom in on the map. And as we zoom in on the map, the points distribute, the background information finally becomes available, and we see that we can actually click on one of the individual points, and that we'll see some application detail displayed. Now, the pop-up that is showing right now actually includes a link to another website, or another page, I'm sorry, that would give us a little bit more detail about the application, but we're not going to click on that for now. We're instead going to go back up and do a text-based search. If you think back to that on-street sign that we showed you earlier, we saw that the address was 21 Withdruck. We're going to use that as our search criteria. So we've entered that in as our search criteria, but you notice that we've included quotes around the string of text. That's to ensure that we look for that exact complete string of text. Now when we click the search button, we see that two results are returned. That's the zoning amendment application as well as the subdivision application that were noted on the sign. Now if you look at the basic information that's now being displayed on the screen, you'll see that we have address, application type, review dates, and there's also a file number that's listed. That file number actually offers a hyperlink into a more detailed page that would provide us information on the specific application. We might be able to see information about the planner that's managing the file, supporting documents that have been submitted in support of the application. For a subdivision application, we may see things like landscape plans, traffic studies, noise studies. In addition to that, we're also able to provide feedback directly to the planner that's managing the application. But we don't want to continue looking at the existing site. We'd like to now show you something new. So what we're seeing now is the new development application search page. I think the first thing everyone will notice is the new modern look and feel. You'll also notice that we've incorporated the Ottawa.ca banner, the black banner appearing across the top of the screen. On the left side of the screen, we of course see the city logo, but if you scan over to the right-hand side, you'll see that we've now included a language toggle. We can easily toggle between English to French and from French back to English. Everything that has been developed to date has been developed with accessibility in mind. Screen readers will be able to announce each element on screen, and for keyboard users, they'll be able to navigate using their tab. We still offer a menu down the left-hand side of the screen, but you'll notice that the menu can now be collapsed or displayed by clicking on the menu or the hamburger link. We've also incorporated a larger map. And instead of including an individual point for each development application, we're now clustering them together. Now the map offers the same functionality in that a user can zoom in and pan around the map. And as they do that, you'll see that the clusters distribute the points. And we can get to a point where we can now simply hover over the point to see the additional information related to the application. The final thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a text-based search. You'll notice that we've moved that text-based search field down to the bottom of the screen, and that the search tips now appear above the field. When we click in the field, we're going to use that same search criteria that we did earlier, 21 Withrow. And when we click search, we see that 2 results are returned, our zoning application as well as the subdivision application. So again, we've got some basic information that's displayed on screen for us. So as we've been looking at this through the demo today, we've been looking at it the way a desktop user might look at it. I think many of you will be happy to hear in this room that this application is now mobile friendly. So this is what it would look like for a user in mobile. We still offer the menu on the left-hand side of the screen that can be displayed or collapsed. Still offer the same functionality on the map where users can zoom and pan. And we still offer the same text-based search at the bottom of the screen. So again, we can enter that search criteria, 21 Withrow, click on search, and we see that our same search results. So I think I can speak on behalf of the team, and I can say that we're all very pleased with the progress that we've made to date and the development that we've completed to date. The final piece of information I'll share today is through the initial testing of our new development application, all the feedback we've received has been very positive. People are happy with the new look and feel and the streamlined. On that positive note, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So at this point, I kind of wanted to take a pause just so people can get appreciation of what we've done. Roseanne showed you a demo. That's a featureful demo. That's no smoke and mirrors. That's all coded in. That's done. This was only with 14 and a half days of development, start to finish. 4 days for planning during that first week, another 5 days for coding, another 5 days for coding, and a half a day on Monday just for us to lock it down. 14 and a half days and we have that, okay? That just goes to show that when you get the CI/CD pipeline going, you got a good team working, get Agile working, and we nailed all of our goals that we set out at the beginning. Designed with language and AODA in mind, we got that nice clean look. We got our automated testing. We're able to do builds. I think right before our lockdown, we had like 13 builds in 1 hour. And then this whole thing was done through Agile development where people were coming in, giving us constant feedback, and we just go right into another iteration. So next steps. What do we want to do? So not the entire application isn't done. 14 and a half days. We still have some features we need to build in. We want to continue with our AODA focus. This has really helped design right from the start, so we want to keep that going. We want to implement the rest of this application. So there's some things you didn't see in the existing applications. A list of attachments per application. A feedback form, which you kind of see here in the pilot. Those points of interest on the map, we want to be able to hover and show more and be able to click on them. Those are just some more things that we're going to do once we get back from this residency. Technical offboarding. Not only did we do that development, we also spun up entire environments to be able to do these builds. That was also part of this. So that means taking back OpenShift, figuring out containers back at work, getting our CI/CD pipeline, starting to teach Agile, getting all these processes. This is all the stuff that we want to learn here, bring back and start implementing back at home office. And expanding the team. Hey, Tony. So since the residency is kind of coming to an end, we're losing our Red Hat friends. Marietta, Jamie, Olga, and Nick, there he is in the back, and Roseanne and myself, like, we want to keep going with this, but we're going to need some extra help. So not only do we want some help to finish this application, but we also want to spread the love to everyone else at work. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking for. So again, it was amazing to see what this team was able to accomplish in a short period of time. I attribute it mostly to sugar and Post-it notes, so we may need a budget ask for that for next year. But yeah, it was fantastic to work with Red Hat and the city team. So thanks everyone for doing this. And now we'll open it up to questions.
The first is what animal are you?
I was the bear. I'll jump in. Back driving design. All too often back at work, what we do is we go and we get requirements from a client, and then we just developer sits down and codes to those requirements. This was not only using a bit of BA and product owner, this was bringing in real users of the application. People, like, yes, they were City of Ottawa employees, but at the same time, we're like, get out of your mindset of your City of Ottawa employee. You're a citizen. See construction going on and you want more information. Just go with that. So it's kind of getting people in the right mindset, listening to what they're saying, and just doing that rapid iteration to be able to change the design and not being stuck on a design. We made so many changes after Don came in and just blasted us all about AODA, learned us about AODA. So that was fantastic, and that's the one thing I really want to bring back. I was going to open it up if anybody else wanted to.
I think another element that really helped is the location. Be able to communicate any blockers that occurred and be able to, so that we would be able to work.
In fact, I tried first week. I tried Friday.
Red Hat learn anything of this? Or?
I think I learned how much you can accomplish when you prioritize. I went into this being like, how are we going to pull this off? Because we had development and through a really intense prioritization process, we pulled off the most important thing.
I'd add to that and say, doing the user feedback testing, the way we did and sitting in a room together, really drove home that you kind of have to let go of some of your own opinions on how something will work. Like, I'm very math focused, but you don't have time to sit there and do the perfect thing and send 500 emails back and forth for 3 months and be like, I really want to do it this way, so I'm going to keep sending emails until everyone just gets tired of it. It was done in a day. Like, we designed how we were going to do it, and then off the ground, then feedback came in. So it's tough to let go of that sometimes, but
So as the usability testing, especially, what was your starting point? Your old design, or had you actually had a new design by then? Right? You got a prototype going? What were you throwing in front of user spaces?
I think the first one was the existing site.
First one was the
Yeah.
And then you iterated on that design?
So before we went to an actual working model, Riley, who's on the phone right now, he can't be here, but he created a clickable prototype in Zeppelin or Envision. So essentially, you just take an image, throw it in, highlight a couple areas that are clickable, and you kind of fake it. And that was awesome just to be able to do those demos, and for the couple of people that were here that did that, like, it was extremely helpful. Yes, there were some things that weren't done, but Riley basically said, don't worry about that. Like, just keep going and tell me what you think that should be.
So you were iterating in that design tool?
Or we even touch code. Yeah.
Curious on that. How are you guys using it, especially because you're co-located? Issues are around.
Lots of gifts were being passed around.
So Slack and Jira.
Slack for communication.
But we'll also go back into the room and we'll show you. A lot of the stuff was physical on the walls, and then a lot of the other stuff was through tools. But again, really good use of Slack. I know we have MS Teams back at work. It's essentially the exact same thing. Like excessive use of Slack, not so much with emails. We even had automated messages come to your Slack, like reminder to go take your car out of the parking lot at 4:30, otherwise you get locked in, or webhooks sending us 14 good morning emails. Anyway, it was really fun to use a system like that instead of sending emails or phone calls. Again, we're all in the room, but it was kind of like our audit trail of communication.
And the CIC portion of it.
how much effort?
Yeah, like was that a week's worth of time in advance? I know you guys did that because we didn't have time within residency to the actual staff?
About a week, yeah. A little bit less.
But I think there's a lot more than just the pipeline that we did have.
Yeah, specifically with the ICD. Yeah.
And we even made tweaks as we went too. Where things didn't work, Patrick or Jamie or whoever was in there fixing them. Simone was in there making changes to the way Jira worked, just to make it easier for us too. Like, not just the code that was iterating, it was our process. That was the whole point. Questions? Comments?
Okay, so you kind of highlighted your interest in the automated testing. First time that you did that. Or using.
Yeah. So, Tony's project, otherwise, there are some automated. For the most part, the idea is the same. This pipeline extended a bit in that, I don't know if you recall, there was a phase Ryan was talking about where we promote the same image from dev test. Or even prior to that, if the tests fail, so we haven't quite taken that step from this project. Concept.
Anyone on the line have a question or a comment? You are all unmuted. Okay.
So yeah.
This is Mike. Just
Go ahead, Mike.
briefly, this is Mike. Yeah, just thank you for letting me observe, and I'm really impressed. 14.5 days is not a long time, and it's light years ahead. Really nice work. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so with that, we can wrap it up, and I'm sure people are probably curious to see where we're moving for the last 3 weeks. So we've got cookies and sugar just because that's the way we've been operating. So you guys are free to come back and help us clean up.
Yeah, get all the food.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks
Cool.
for coming.
Great, thank you all. Thanks, guys. We're leaving now.
Thank you.